Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Emily. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today is reading journal day. Today I'm going to be onboarding myself and sharing with you my new reading journal that Jean-Luc got for me for Christmas. I am really excited about having a reading journal this year. One of my kind of New Year's resolutions with reading is to take a little time in between books, reflect, marinate, process a little bit. I'm known for just like finishing a book and going right into the next. It's just nice to have a little bit of time in between to be able to process, reflect, think about what I liked about the book, what I got from the book, how I relate to the book, the characters, the plot, just everything. Quotes that I really liked. I need to clip this today. Jean-Luc got me this book lover's journal from Amazon. It's so cute, it's so compact, can put it in basically any bag. I love it so much. I am personally keeping it in my nightstand. If I finish a book that day, I can just kind of like journal about it before I go to sleep. Let's just kind of open the journal and I'll share with you all the different types of pages it has and kind of work through it and start adding to it. So you open it, you put your name and contact info. This journal is by Renee J. Smith, we love. So you have an intro, a book log, books I'd like to read, my books, book group, info, acclaimed authors and books, and my reading life. So most of the journal is the book log, which is what I'm going to primarily be using it for. And then we have a nice quote, "All good books are alike in that they are truer than if they really happened. And after you are finished reading one, you will feel that it all happened to you. And afterwards, it all belongs to you." I love that. Okay, I'm not going to read this intro. Yeah, we just have some fun quotes and stuff. Okay, so now we have the book log section. Keep a record of books as you read them in this main section. Each book gets a 2-page spread. Fill in the specifics for each book, rate and review it, and record your own thoughts. And then you have the next 2 pages as the table of contents. This is basically my 2024 book journal. I'm not going to log every single book I've ever read. I'm just going to start it from the first book I finished in January, which was Daisy Hates. So I logged that as my first book. I have completed 1 journal entry in my book log for 2024, and it's for Daisy Hates. Something else I'm working on this year is just kind of refining my rating system. As you're supposed to do, really just do my ratings based on like initial gut feeling, which I think is good, but I also kind of wanted to get more specific. I feel like my ratings are consistently changing. I just kind of want to have like an actual system for rating. This specific rating scale in this book is based on a scale of 1 to 10, and you rate different categories. So I plan on averaging the numbers from each different category and then kind of converting it to the 5-star scale. 10 would be 5 stars, 9 would be 4.5 stars, 8 would be 4 stars, and so forth. Let's just go through this first little book entry just so you kind of get an idea of like what it looks like. So the book title, I put Magnolia Parks #2, Daisy Hates, because I accidentally started writing Magnolia Parks and I wish I had just wrote Daisy Hates. Author, Jessa Hastings. Publisher, which is interesting. I never really pay attention to the publisher at all, so that'll be an interesting thing to log this year. This was published by Penguin Publishing. It was 512 pages. It's fiction, and the genre is romance, I think. It was in the romance section in Barnes & Noble. I guess it makes sense, but it's definitely like tormented romance. And then if it's nonfiction, you would check that and then do the subject. How I discovered or acquired this book. I discovered this book, I think through like BookTube. I acquired this book at a Barnes & Noble in Manhattan, where and when I read. So I read this book from January 1st through the 4th. I read it at home, at work, and I also noted that I listened to the audiobook as well as read it with my own eyes with the physical copy of the book. Noteworthy experiences while reading this book. I just remember I got really emotional during a specific point. There's more emotional moments in this book, but it was when Daisy like stands up for her friend at a bar, and I don't want to like give too much away if you haven't read it, but that moment just like made me emo, and I remember just sitting in my kitchen like starting to cry, and I thought I was being really stupid. Check out author's other books, check, or related books, check. If yes, add them to books I'd like to read. So yes, I'm going to finish the Magnolia Park series. I might read Never by Jessa Hastings, although a lot of people have been like disappointed by that, so maybe I'll just skip it. So rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Quality of writing, 10. Pace, 10. Plot development, 10. Characters, 10. Enjoyability, 10. Insightfulness, I said 7. I think it's insightful in terms of just like getting inside a character's absolute honest train of thought. I didn't really gain any insight on like the human experience experience or subjects that like I didn't know about already, so I gave that a 7. Ease of reading, I gave an 8. I find the beginnings of Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates to be a little confusing because there's so many characters that can get a little confusing at times. So that's why I gave it an 8. But overall, it's like a pretty easy book to read. And then photos and illustrations, not applicable. So if we go to our phone and we average it out, so it's a 9.2. So it's technically 4.5. I think I also just want to overwrite it and give it 5 stars. Daisy is like top 3 characters and I love her so much. Who would I recommend this book to? Everyone. And then I just kind of gave some notes and opinions that I immediately think of when I think of the book. As I'm rating, using this new rating system, it came out to 9.2, which is technically a little over 4.5. I'm choosing to round it up, and I feel like there has to be like a little bit of leeway with that rating system. Anyway, so that was my first book entry. So I have a lot of pages here to fill up this year, and I'm really excited. And I think what I'm gonna do is when I do my reading roundups now for each month, I'm gonna really reference my journal, so that's fun. Okay, so books I'd like to read, my reading wish list. We use the next 2 pages as the table of contents. So this is not my full TBR list. This is basically a list of books that I really want to read this year, so I can go through it really quickly. Basically, if it's a whole series or duology that I have not read anything in yet, I just put one line and put series or duology. If I'm like halfway done, I listed the books that I have to read from that series separately. So I have House of Sky and Breath, House of Flame and Shadow, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing, All In, Bad Blood, Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows, Once Upon a Broken Heart series, Cruel Prince series, Six of Crows duology, Maple Hill series, Chestnut Springs series, Reckless, the sequel to Powerless, Heartless, Here in the Dark, Inheritance Game series, Crowns of Nyaxia series, Part of Your World duology, Age of Magical Overthinking, Tempest of Tea, We Are the Universe, First Light, House of the Cerulean Sea, the Dreamland Billionaire series, Betting on You, Better Than the Movies, The Divorcees, the Stolen Heir duology, All Fours, the Hunger Games series I have not read yet, King of Sin series, Secret History, Wicked, Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister, Never, A Little Life, Tom Lake, the Outlander series, Self-Made, Creating Our Identities from Da Vinci to the Kardashians, the Blood and Ash series, the Shades of Magic series, The Only One Left, the Shatter Me series, the Red Queen series, Adelaide, the Housemaid duology, The Last Thing He Told Me, Hello Beautiful, Finding Me, Cloud Cuckoo Land, Song of Achilles, So You Want to Talk About Race, Circe, and Everything I Know About Love. And then it just has, it's like 6 books to a page where you kind of elaborate, and to me that just feels like a complete waste of time, so I'm skipping that. The next section is my books. Books bought, borrowed, lent, and given. Keep your bookstore's contact information in this section so it's handy when you want to order or reserve a book from your favorite bookseller or when borrowing books from the library. So I'm not going to fill out like my username and password with you guys and like all the phone numbers and stuff just because that's like personal info, but I will run through the list of places where I get my books. So Book of the Month, Libby, Audible, Spotify, audiobooks, Barnes & Noble in Manhattan, Booktown, McNally Jackson. Those are 2 like independent bookstores. The Strand, Drama Bookshop, Housing Works, 3 Lives & Co., The Rip Bodice, and the Barnes & Noble in Union Square. The last like 5 or 6, those are all kind of like Manhattan-based, somewhere in Brooklyn, bookstores. Okay, books I've borrowed. So Dopamine Nation belongs to my friend Stephanie, and I borrowed it in December. And then there's a line for like when it's returned, so that I can make sure I'm returning all of my books and that I don't just have a blank when returned section at the end of the year. So there's 2 like pretty decent sized pages for borrowing books, and there's books I've lent. So I lent It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, and All the Dangerous Things to my friend Stephanie, and I lent them in December of 23. I would be fine if she kept those books, honestly, though. When returned, I might just say given if she wants to keep them. She gave them like a 3 stars though, so she'll probably want to give them back to me. And then books I've given, I just counted the 3 books that I gave my mom for Christmas, which was the first book of the ACOTAR series. She wanted to read it, which I'm pretty surprised by. She's not a huge fantasy girly. She like really wanted to start it, so I hope you like it. I gave her Lessons in Chemistry, and I also gave her The Unmaking of June Farrow. And then we have book group info. Keep up with your reading friends by using this section to record their contact information. You'll also find space for listing group book selections and for your notes. I'm not part of any book groups. So this section I didn't really fill out, but it makes me want to think about maybe starting a book club or a little book group, even if it's just with like 2 or 3 people. And then we have acclaimed authors and books. Here, you'll find several listings of award-winning authors and great books to inspire your future reading. There's so many quotes in this journal too. I'm not going to read every single one, but they're in there. We have a list of recent Nobel laureates in literature. I guess just for the purpose of like having the list and being able to look them up and research their work. And then you have a little checklist of a few different things. So we have 1 recent Pulitzer Prize winners. I don't think I've read any of these. So that's something I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't read any recent Pulitzer Prize winners. Like maybe I should make it a goal to read like 2 or 3 or something. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about. Okay, the next list is among the world's greatest books. So you have fiction, nonfiction, drama, and poetry. I haven't read any of the books on the nonfiction. I've read a few on the fiction. I've read Huckleberry Finn, I've read Catcher in the Rye, I've read The Great Gatsby, and I've read To Kill a Mockingbird, and I don't think I've read any of the other ones. So maybe it's like, okay, maybe I read 3 from this list this year. Picture of Dorian Gray is a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. Maybe that one and 2 other ones I'll read. Maybe I'll read one of the nonfictions. I've definitely read parts of these in school, but I don't even remember them enough to like remember if I read the whole thing. Like Common Sense, I feel like I've definitely read parts of. I feel like I've read parts of The Prince. The drama section I've read almost all of because I was a theater major. I read Arsenic and Old Lace, The Cherry Orchard, Death of a Salesman, A Doll's House, Faust, Glengarry, Glen Ross, Hamlet, The Importance of Being Earnest, Long Day's Journey into Night, A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Odd Couple, Our Town, Pygmalion, Streetcar Named Desire, and Waiting for Godot. And then there's just a list of like poets, I guess. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm a little offended that Emily Dickinson's not on the list, but she is. I was named after Emily Dickinson and Jane Austen. Okay, and then my reading life. My life with books. This is your place to note all of your reading favorites, from memorable author events to the books you'd like to have if you were stranded on a desert island. I'm leaving some space here for this year because I'm really hopeful that I'm gonna find some new favorite books and some new favorite authors this year. So I just tried to do like a few off the top of my head. So my favorite books are the ACOTAR series, Throne of Glass series, Magnolia Park series, Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Harry Potter series, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, The Silent Patient, and reminders of him. Favorite authors: Sarah J. Maas, Jessa Hastings, Nicholas Sparks, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Alex Michaelides, and Colleen Hoover. Memorable book and author events. Again, like this is another one of those things in the journal that I'm like, oh, I don't actually like have anything to put in here. So it's just making me think about kind of like expanding my bookish world this year, if you will. Books that changed my life. The number 1 book that changed my life is A Court of Silver Flames, just because it truly is, I think, my only 6-star read. Like I think about Nesta every day. Like I will not shut up about her. So, but you probably know that already if you are subscribed to my channel. And then I also listed The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo just because it was the first book that I really like binged really quickly. I remember I had like a doctor's appointment and I read it on the train there. I read it in the waiting room and I read it on the train back, and I just like breezed through it, and I just very vividly remember being like, I've never like read a book this fast before. And I also just love the book, but it kind of like changed my life in the way that like it introduced me to like a new level of like my own reading and a new pace of my own reading. And same thing for The Silent Patient. That is the first book that I read in a day straight, so it kind of like proved to myself, oh, like I can read a book in a day. Those 2 books changed my life more in a way of like, I can read. My reading has no limits, you know? And then Silver Flames more changed my life just like emotionally, just because I love Nesta so much. Literary places I'd like to visit. There's nothing that like immediately comes to mind specifically, just because recently I've been reading a lot of fantasy. So like, yeah, I would love to visit like Valeris, I guess, but that's not a real place. I have to kind of marinate on this and like how I want to approach this, because I could just make a list of like fictional places too. Like that would be fun. Like I would like to visit Valeris. Or I can just be like, oh, like this is like an actual bucket list of real places that I physically can and want to go to. I kind of have to think about how I want to treat that. So I haven't started that section yet. Then I have my childhood favorites. I loved Magic Tree House. I loved A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I loved Harry Potter. Books I liked as a teen. I also loved Harry Potter because Harry Potter kind of came out from the time I was like 5 to when I was like in my teens. So that was like a childhood and a teen series. Twilight. And I just read a lot of Judy Garland biographies. That was pretty much it. And I read a lot of plays too. Books I liked in college, I left blank because I didn't really read any books for fun in college. I think I read like the Madeline Kahn biography, but I just wanted to leave that blank as a simple. And then favorite poems and poets. Another thing this journal has made me realize is that I actually don't like read any poetry. So I literally just put Emily Dickinson because when I dive into poetry, she will be the first person I look at just because I was named after her. But like I had like growing up, my mom had a lot of Emily Dickinson books around the house and stuff. And I like knew a little bit about her life. Like she was a recluse. Yes, my mother named me after a reclusive poet. I'm like 2 steps away from being a reclusive booktuber. So like whatever. Books I was supposed to read and didn't, but still might. I also left blank because like I'm not really supposed to read any books at this point in my life. You know what I mean? And then favorite book related publications, shows, blogs, and websites. I just listed my favorite booktubers. So I have Sarah Caroli, Brooke Michio, Rachel Catherine, Destiny Sidwell, and Haley Pham. I love them all. Brooke Michio is not known necessarily for being a booktuber, but she was the first person on BookTube or on YouTube that I follow that gave reading updates. And then that kind of led me... Wait, I forgot 2 people. Haley Barber is a huge one. And then I also obviously want to include Steph, sorry, I don't really know how to say her last name. She's also someone that I watched. I love all my booktube girlies. Like, they keep me alive. Literally. Okay, books on screen. This section, I also didn't want to fill out too much because part of my content this year, I want to talk more about my love of books and like its relation to like me being an actor. So I want to make videos about like casting certain film adaptations of books and like characters that I'd want to play and stuff like that. So I didn't want to give like too much away or like think about it too much because I'm gonna have like very specific videos about a lot of these things. A book I'd like with me if I were stranded on a desert island. I only listed 1 because I feel like desert island questions, you're only supposed to pick 1 because it's like if you only had 1 thing on a desert island. So I'd obviously pick A Court of Silver Flames. But I might flesh out that list a little bit more later. So that's it. That's my reading journal. I'm so happy to have this. And I'm so happy to like continue to log my books and share them with you. And I'll do like a flip through at the end of the year. I think it'll be really fun. That's it. That's the video. I will obviously link this journal down below. I think it's like less than $10 on Amazon. Run and get your copy. It's not too late in the year to start a 2024 book journal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely weekend and I'll see you next week. I have some fun videos for next week I'm really excited about, so stay tuned. I'll see you then.